For this tutorial, you need some yarn. Today, I'm using a 100% acrylic yarn in this finger weight. You need some crochet hooks. I'm using a 3.5 and 4mm hook. You need darning needle, some stitch markers, scissors, and tape measure. This is the top I'm going to be recreating with a few modifications. I made this a few months ago. First, you need to take some measurements. You need to take the circumference of your waist. So for me, that is 13 inches. I'm going to be taking out 10 inches because this stretches out a lot. Then take measurement from underneath your bust to how long you want your top to be. So for me, that's 5 inches. Starting off, I'm going to double strand my yarn. So I have this. I'll be using a 3.5mm hook to start off. Make a slip knot. Insert your hook and make a chain long enough for how long you want the base of your top to be. So from underneath your bust to how long you prefer your top to be. For me, that's about 5 inches. I have just made a chain long enough for the base of my top, so I have 5 inches there. I'm going to be working in double crochets into all this chain space. So what I'll do next is I'll chain 2, 1, 2, and I'll work my first double crochet into the third chain space for my hook. 1, 2, 3. So I'll place my first double crochet, and I'll continue to place double crochets in each of the chain space till I get to the end of my chain. I have chained my first row of double crochets. Moving on, I will insert my hook, chain 2. I will turn my work, yarn over, start to work double crochets into the chain spaces. Now I will just work 1 double crochet in each of the chain space. So here, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now I'm going to work double crochets back and forth until I have enough for the circumference of my waist, like here in this top. So you work double crochets back and forth until you have enough for the circumference of your waist. Do that, working double crochets back and forth until you have as long as you want for the circumference of your waist, and come back for the next step. It has been a few hours. Now I have enough for the circumference of my waist. Here I have 61 rows. So this is the center of my 61 rows. This is my 31st row. So here I'm going to place a stitch marker here. So now this is my 31st row. On this 31st, in any stitches, just like in this one. So now, to mark out my bust, from the center of the rows, I'm going to mark out how many rows I need for my cups, for my individual bust cups, these two. Again, I will not be working into the center stitch or center row, which is this one, my 31st row. So it is preferable that you use odd number of rows. Here, like I said earlier, I have 61. So my 31st row, I will not be working into it. Next, I'm going to be counting how many rows I want to work into for my center row. From experience, from this one, 14 rows is enough for my cup size. And I'll tell you how it's enough. I have a 36 inches bust. If I were to divide that by 4, that would be 9. And if I measure out 9 inches, this is going to be too wide for my bust. But I'm going to show you how to fit in your bust size into a smaller inch. So now counting 14 rows from the center. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. So now I have 14 rows. I'm going to place my stitch marker into the 14th row. I will count 14 rows from here as well. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So this is where I'm going to place my 2 cups, one on this side, the other on this side. Now I'm switching over to my 4mm hook because I want more drape, and I'll also be single stranding for the cups. You can see here that the cups have a lot more drape. This will help the fabric fit over the bust better, and it will not be as bulky as the base of the top. So now, because I have a bigger bust, I'm going to show you how to make that cup accommodate a bigger bust or if you want more coverage. If you look at these cups, you see that they're pucker out here. They have more fabric. This gives my bust is a bit large on the larger side. This gives my bust more coverage and a lot more fabric to play around with. But if you prefer that your fabric is smaller, so more you want less coverage, or you have a smaller bust, you will not need to do this. I'll tell you what to do instead. So now again, using my 4mm hook and single stranding, I will start to place double crochets at the top of this rectangle that we have made earlier. So I'm going to attach my yarn. I've attached my yarn. I'm going to insert my hook, chain 2, 1, 2, place 3 double crochets into the same chain space. 1, 2, 3. So now I have 3 double crochets into the same chain space, and my first chain 2 counts at the first one. So I have 4 in total double crochets into this first chain space. The next row, which is going to count as my next chain space, I will be placing just 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Then my third row, I will be placing 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next row, which is my fourth row, which is going to count as my next chain space, I will place 2 double crochets. So the pattern is 4, 2, 4, 2. So 4 double crochets, 2 double crochets, 4 double crochets, 2 double crochets, and so on. If you prefer to have less coverage, you would place just 2 double crochets in each chain space. Or if you have a smaller bust, you place just 2 double crochets into every chain space. But for my big bust girlies, you need to place 4 double crochets in one of the chain space and 2 in the other, just so you have more fabric and more coverage. So that is what I'm going to do, placing 4 double crochets and 2 double crochets in the next until I get to my stitch marker. Again, working your double crochets over this yarn will prevent you from having to weave in your ends later. It's just easier that way, I find. Worked 4 double crochets, then 2 double crochets into the next chain space from my stitch marker point to the other point. I did not work, or I will not be working into my center chain. Again, you need that space in between the cups to look like this here. So now what I'm going to be doing is working double crochets into every stitch space for 7 rows. No increases, no decreases. I'm just going to be working double crochets into every of the chain space like so. This might be a bit finicky for now because we are using a fingering weight, but as you work up more fabric, it will be easier to handle. Now I have a total of 7 rows. I'm going to fold this into 2 to mark out kind of my center point of this cup. So I will place a stitch marker here. You can count your stitches and find out your center, but if you have even numbers, because I have even numbers, don't worry about it so much. So what you're going to do now is you're going to work double crochet. So you chain to 1 to turn your work and work double crochets up until 1 stitch before your stitch marker. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm placing 1 double crochet in each stitch space. I am not increasing or decreasing. I'm just placing my double crochets as normal. I have gotten to my stitch marker, so I have 1 chain before my stitch marker. I'm just going to take out my stitch marker. So I'll work my first double crochet as usual. I'll yarn over, place my hook into the chain space. I'll pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Then I'll place my hook into the next chain space. So that's the center of my cup where I just took out my stitch marker from. So I'll insert my hook, yarn over, pull through. Then I'll pull through 3. and pull through 2. I'll do that again. This is where I took out my stitch marker from. So the chain before my stitch marker. So I will yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through. So I have 3 loops on my hook. I hope you guys can see that. 1, 2, 3. I will insert my hook into the next chain space, which is where I took out my stitch marker from. I'll yarn over, pull through. So now I have 4 loops on my hook. I'll yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. So this is how I get like an invisible decrease. I'll do that one more time. This is where I took out my stitch marker from. So the stitch space before the space where I took out my stitch marker from. So 1 stitch space before the middle of your cups. I'll yarn over, I'll insert my hook into the chain space or stitch space, pull through. I have 3 loops on my hook. Insert my hook into the next. So here I'll insert my hook into the next, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 4 loops on my hook. I'll yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have officially crocheted 2 stitches together just to form one. So this is my first official decrease, and this is happening on my 8th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm doing this on my 8th row. So now I'm going to work in my double crochets as is normal. No increases, no decreases. I'm just going to place 1 double crochet on top of each stitch space until I get to the end of my row. Now I've completed my 8th row. In order for you to identify your decrease stitch, you can place a stitch marker on top of your decrease stitch like this. But I can tell what my decrease stitch looks like. But if you're going to have trouble identifying your decrease stitch, you can place a stitch marker on top of it so that you don't miss it. So now moving on to my 9th row. This is my 8th row. I'm moving on to my 9th row. I'll chain 2, I'll yarn over, and then I'll continue to work my double crochets until I get to 1 stitch before my stitch marker. So I'm placing 1 double crochet in each chain space or stitch space. I am 1 stitch away from my first decrease or the center of the stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, pull through, and I have 3 loops on my hook. Without completing this, I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch space, yarn over, pull through. So now I have 4 loops on my hook. I'll yarn over, pull through 3 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2. So now I have placed my second decrease. So I will continue to place double crochets into every stitch space till I get to the end of the row. So again, if you are going to miss your stitch, you can place a stitch marker on top of the decrease so you know where to place your next decrease. So what this decrease is going to do is it's going to give us this shaping. I don't know if you guys can see clearly on camera. It's going to give us this shaping that will allow the cup to come in, and then it will give better, it will lay over the bust better rather than having it just flat. So the pattern is you are working your decreases into the last chain before the decrease. So now I will complete this row. This is my 10th row, so I will take out my stitch marker. I find that it is easier for me to work into my stitches without my stitch marker. So I have 1 chain or 1 stitch space before my stitch marker space. So I will yarn over, I'll insert my hook into that chain space. So now I have 3 loops on my hook, and then I'll insert my hook right directly into my next stitch space. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, I have placed my next decrease. So now we continue to place my double crochets without any increase or decrease till I get to the end of the row. You are going to want to continue this pattern of decreasing in the center stitch till you get to 16th row. So when you get to your 16th row, you come back and I'll tell you what to do next. Now I have gotten to the 16th row. I have placed all my increases in the center of my cup. You can see that it started to form the cup shape. So this will lay over the bust a lot better. So this is a little bit over half of my bust length. Typically, I like my cup to be 9 inches. And here I have 5.5 inches. So a little bit over half. To this point, I know it's going to cover my nipples / areola. So you make these as long as you would like. So now I'm going to start placing newer increases. So now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then I will place in a decrease in the beginning of the row. 1. Again, I will use my invisible decrease method. So now I've changed to yarn over, insert my hook. I have 3 loops on my hook. I'll insert my hook into the next chain space, yarn over. Now I have 4. I'll yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, pull through 2. I'll be placing decreases at the beginning of my row, and then I'll continue my pattern, just placing my normal double crochets up until 1 stitch before my stitch marker. So coming up on 1 stitch before my decrease, I'm going to take off my stitch marker. Now I'll place my invisible decrease here. So I'll yarn over, insert my hook into the chain space. I have 3 loops on my hook. Insert my hook into the next. I'll pull through. So I have 4. I'll pull through 3, pull through 2, and I'll complete my row as normal, no increases or decreases. Now we're going to place in 1 decrease at the beginning of every row until you get to the 27th row. So you're going to be placing 1 decrease at the beginning of every row until you get to the 27th row. You're also going to be placing decreases at the center of the cup, as we have been doing from the 8th row. So I will do this till I get to the 27th row. I've placed my decrease here. So I'm going to do this till I get to my 27th row. I'll come back and tell you what to do next. Now I've gotten to the 28th row. I'm just going to make this tie. You can make this tie as long or as short as you would like. I prefer it to be a bit long so I have some fabric when I tie it at the back. So what I'm going to do is, from here, no more decreases or increases. I'm just going to start working double crochets back and forth for about 40 rows. Again, you can make this as long or as short as you like. If you prefer it to be longer, then you can make it longer. If you prefer it to be shorter, you can make it shorter. So no more increases or decreases. We are just placing double crochets back and forth. I will be doing 40 rows in my case, just so I have a tie is long. And I'll come back to tell you what to do next. Okay, I'm back. I have 40 rows for the tie. I'm going to do the same thing. Everything I did here, I'm going to replicate for the other side of the cup. So starting off with my 4mm hook, I'm going to insert my hook. I'll put 4 double crochets in 1 chain space, and then the next we have 2 double crochets, and then the next 4, and the next 2. I'll do this for 7 rows, and from the 8th row, I'm going to start decreasing at the center of the cup up until my 16th row, where I'm going to be decreasing from the first stitches of the row and then the center of the cup until I get to my 27th, 28th row, where I'm going to now do 40 rows on my tie. So everything that I've said here, you're going to do here. If you do not remember, you can just rewind the video and watch it. So when I'm done with the second cup, I'm going to show you how to put in the finishing touches like this, like the ties on the back of the top, so we can lace this up at the back. So do everything that you've done here, and then come back for the end of this video. And I'm going to have a cute top at the end of this. So yeah, I'll see you in the next clip. This is what the top looks like now. I have made the second cup and it looks like this. Now I'm going to put in loops at the back so I can tie it. So the loops are going to look like this. Like this one. I'm going to put in 4 loops just so I can tie it at the back. This is all I have left for the 240 grams of yarn I started with. So I have some scraps from a different project that I'm going to be using. I don't want to have to use a different or a new ball of yarn. This is a 4mm hook. I'm going to attach my hook at the top of the back, at the top of the top here, and attach my yarn, tie it up, and make sure it's secure. And we leave this tail here. I'm going to weave it in later or crochet over it later. Now I will chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. and I'll count 1, 2, 3. I'm going to insert my hook into the third loop or third stitch and slip stitch. Then I will single crochet twice, 1, 2, and I'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3, count 3 chains or stitches. I'll count 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, insert my hook and slip stitch like so. Then I'll single crochet twice, 1, 2. Again, I will chain 3, 1, 2, 3, count 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, single crochet twice, the next 2 stitches, 1, 2, I'll chain 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then I'll do 2, 1, 2. For the last one, I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So for the first and last, I chained 4 just so it has some ease, and I'll slip stitch into the last stitch like so. So this tail that I have, I'm going to lay it over so I don't have to worry about weaving in my ends later. Then I'll chain 1, turn my work, and start to work into these loops just so I can finish the loops like this so it's more secure. So what I'll do here is I start to single crochet. So I chained 4 for the last, so that means I'm going to single crochet 4 times into the loops like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'll work 2 single crochets into the single crochets that we worked in between the loops. 1, 2. Again, I chained 3 here, so I'm going to single crochet into the loops 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I'll work single crochet, 2 single crochet. So this is how I like to put in my loops so they are more secure and finished, like has more finished. So this looks better than if I were to leave it like this. So this looks better, looks more finished. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I've come to the first one. I made 4 single crochets, so I'm going to put in 4. I made 4 chains rather, so I'm going to put in 4 single crochets. 2, 3, and 4. So now I also want to finish the top of this part of the top here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place single crochets at the top, making sure I lay the tails, the yarn tails, so I don't have to worry about weaving it in later. I'm going to place in single crochets into the top. You might have to place in 2 single crochets in 1 chain space so it's not too tight, but just continue to do this. Make sure I single crochet into the last, and then I will slip stitch and cut my yarn. Now using my darning needle, I will weave in this tail like so. Let's make sure that I weave in my tail properly. and I'll cut the excess. So everything that I have just done here. So now I have one, two, three, four, five loops here. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm obsessed. What? Oh my god. I mean, like, I have this top in cream. It's right here. But like this color. And typically, I don't make pieces for myself in this color because I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I like pink. But oh my god, I don't think you guys are really seeing it. So I'll put a clip of me trying it vertically here. But like, I have it paired with the Big Daddy pants. This is such a look. Oh my god. Oh my god, I love it so much. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm supposed to come here to film like the outro, but I'm gagging. Wow. But yeah, this is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If you make this stuff, please tag me. Send me pictures, send me DMs. I want to see all your recreations and what colors you make them in. Because I'm about to be wearing this all over. Like, what? This color. This color. Oh, I haven't even taken a thumbnail or anything. Oh my, I'm really, really gagging. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Share with your friends, share with your fiber friends, because like I mean everybody's going to eat this up. Share with your fiber friends, and yeah, leave a comment down below if you have any questions or any remarks. I'll be happy to get to all your comments. I'll see you in the next one. Over.